To extend for 2 minutes.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Carton to extend for additional 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
No objections? Request by acclamation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We say why? We say it was the style, shape, and fashion Mr. Simpson as one who was not obligated to common decency. I asked the 12 of you to stand behind Commissioner Jackson's resolution because, as Breaker people said, we don't want a reenaction of what we had this time last year, especially when we have a national audience looking at the George Floyd incident. Caddo Parish now has the opportunity to be the epicenter of good decisions by moving quickly to bring justice to the family of Casey Simpson. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Muhammad. Rosalind Johnson. She's in the hallway.
Okay, good evening. How y'all doing? I'm here to discuss my friend about her son. It's not Casey I'm here to talk about. I'm coming to talk about the mother of Casey. Now, all us are parents. All us have kids. And if yours get hurt, you're going to want to know what happened, who did it, why it happened. Everybody know this. And I'm just concerned about why her answers why she can't get her questions answered. Why they can't show her what happened. We don't want the questions. We want to see what happened. Because when we see it, we'll feel better. And I'm not just speaking on behalf of me. He have sisters, he have kids, he had a wife. You know, it's a lot of us worried about what happened at Caddo. You know, we can hear all the wild stories go on up there. We don't know what's going on up there. But we know for a fact Casey went in there alive. We know one thing, he wasn't sick when he went in there. On the streets, he was fine. And all of a sudden, he come out and he's not alive no more. He had 2 little girls worried about him. A wife, Lord, all of us. But his mama especially. I hate to see Laura. She's aging every day behind this. If y'all can't do nothing, just answer her questions. Let her know what happened to her child. Because you don't want to know. You don't want to know what happened to your baby. I know I would. And mine was in there and come out like this. I'm gonna spend the night in front of them, in front of Caddo. I'm gonna pitch me a tent. I ain't going home. They gonna have to tell me something. I'm gonna be outside. They gonna have to arrest me or something. That's the type of mama I am. Laura ain't got that spirit. I know she don't want to hear me up here saying this, but that's the way I am about mine. And that's the way I was about Casey. Anything he did wrong, I wanted to find out it wasn't really him before I let the police get hold to him. I wouldn't just give him to the police at time because I needed to know what was going on with him. And this time here, it's very hurtful. Now, I'm so disappointed in Caddo. For one thing, you know, I lived in this city 55 years I've been here. And I have never experienced nothing like this before, never. I never thought about nothing like this here going on out in our state. You know, we hear about this all over the world. Oh, somebody died in jail or officer killing somebody. But you'll never think it'll happen here in Louisiana. Just like the young man and his dad, I give him all the glory to God for what he said today. And I feel his pain because simple fact, we can't figure out what's going on around here now. The people killing each other, and now the police, they're just letting stuff just go. What is happening? What we gonna say about anything? Then it's hush hush. It's always this one's Pat Newsom on the back. It's always a story to be told. Let's tell the truth and let it shine. We won't have to worry about once the truth come out. It'll be over with. Laura will be okay. She can finish living her life. But as long as y'all keeping this a secret, it's killing her. I watch her dissolve every day. Every day is taking something from her. And I hate to see it. And I know y'all don't care about it or don't understand about what she's going through, but one day, everybody gonna go through this. Believe me, everybody in this room gonna see what we're going through. Everybody. And I promise you that, because God make a way for you to walk in everybody's shoes. You feel like you're doing something right, oh, it can't happen to me. That's a lie. It will happen. And it'll happen tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now, it might happen. But don't ever say, oh, we gonna get away with this, because you never get away with anything. Because God got a day, and when you go up there, he got to judge you too. I ain't going down the ground, baby, I'm going up top. I'll make sure everything I say be real, and I ain't holding no secrets from nobody. Nobody. And I feel like y'all should let them know this is not a joke, this is something real. This is a hurtful matter. And I've been sick since it happened. March 16 ain't been no good, no time, nothing. It's sad. We hurting. We want to know what happened to Casey, and that's it. And I'm going to leave that alone. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Cheryl George.
Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Casey and justice for him. I'm also here myself. 22 months ago, my only child, along with another young lady, was killed downtown on Texas Street at a club called Royalty. I yet to get answers myself. It's not that the police department didn't investigate, but my question was, how does the city allow an establishment to run without insurance? They had no insurance. And my child was an only child. He also was a father also of 3 young men that are left behind. And I'm just with Casey, which was a best friend of my son's. Now they reside in the same cemetery. My son is here, Casey is right there. So I went to the funeral home, to the graveyard yesterday. I not only visited my child's grave, I visited Casey's grave yesterday. And it's just like the crime is getting worse. Everyone wants to blame everyone, but we have to be to blame as citizens for not opening our mouths and saying, you did this, I saw you, I'm calling in. Until we get on the same page, we're gonna continue to have a killing every night. The snowstorm stopped it just for briefly, but time it let up. The snow was just barely off the ground. Crime after crime after crime. And I have spoke with several mothers saying, how do you get through this? And I tell them, the grace of God, I stand up and I try to be strong, because I have still to worry about 3 young black men that are in these communities. And they're my grandkids. 2 of them are 3 of them are in the Martin Luther King area. I took a bonus one. They're in sports, they in AAU, they in all type of stuff. But it's like, I have to worry still, even though my child is buried, I still have his offsprings to worry about. Because crime is getting worse, it's not getting better. But until we as people need to come together and find a resolution, like they said, find a resolution to get things done, because the police is not the best thing. I had a brother, the police killed in 1993. They still lied, they still covered up things. We never found the answer or the results to it. But do I say that the police is this or bad? I have friends that's in law enforcement, but we have good, bad, and ugly, and they need to be weeded out. And that's all I have to say, and you have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. George. Barbara Smith Iverson.
I was going to speak on resolution 35.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak on resolution 35 to establish an independent third-party review into the deaths in parish facilities. I'm trying to catch my breath. Just listening to all of the things that the citizens are speaking about, it just hurts my heart. I thank God today that we have a resolution to actually bring transparency and accountability to the public at large for families who may lose loved ones in parish facilities. This resolution is a great resolution. It is in line with providing the public with basic human dignity. When you look at the latest death of 31-year-old Casey Lewis Simpson, who died in CCC custody, his mother, Ms. Sabat, was not notified, as she mentioned, about the conditions of her son's death. Furthermore, she has failed to receive any kind of information from the coroner's office. A lot of times when you mix the sheriff's office and the coroner's office together, there is a great possibility that the families will not get an accurate cause of death for their loved ones. And this has got to stop. This is one of the fundamental reasons why nothing ever gets solved when it comes to these deaths. If this resolution passes, it will take, I'm happy that it will take effect immediately, and there will be an independent third-party inquiry. This resolution is the resolution that the citizens need. I say it's a long time coming. I want to send a special thanks to Commissioner Stephen Jackson for authoring such a competent resolution. It is a long time coming. And I say to the other commissioners, hashtag long time overdue. Thank you.
We have a situation now because we do have people waiting in the lobby that, according to our charter, that we would basically have a subject with 15 minutes to talk on that particular subject. But being that we're steady getting cards in and I couldn't group them all together, we're gonna have to either do a motion to suspend that particular rule to get it done, or
How many more we got?
right now I got 3 more.
Motion to suspend the rules. Second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Carthon, seconded by Commissioner Jackson.
And then we just
suspend
put the
rule
rest as late.
to allow these additional 3 speakers.
And then just the rest will go as late arrival, I guess.
Well, we're still in citizen comment, so they're really not late arrivals if they still.
Right,
they
I'm
still
saying
gotta come.
anybody after these 3
Yeah, after
as
these
late
3,
arrival.
they could be.
Right.
We'll extend it 3 minutes apiece, so that'd be 9 minutes.
What's going on with our system here?
It's not our system, it's electricity.
Will this be for this specific topic? I don't want to disallow anybody else that would like to speak.
No,
on a
this is
different-
only on Casey Simpson. Okay. Any opposition? It passes by acclamation. We'll wait till our system, it went down for a second. Lester Smith, you can come on up. Lester Smith.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Casey Simpson family as well. I don't want to come and bash and say this or that, pointing at elected officials, but we have to do something. This has gone on for much too long. Every instance with a young black male dying at the hands of police officers or in custody, the police walk free. There's never any accountability. We as a people, We call town hall meetings, we pray, we have candlelight vigils, and the results are not there. I believe in the Bible. The Bible say 1,000 one righteous man can put 10,000 to flight. So we're meeting, our praying and our meeting undoubtedly is with unrighteous men. And maybe that's why we're not getting the desired results. We have to come together as a community, elected officials. Y'all bear with me, I have a little lungs problem. My wind leave me. As elected officials in the community, we have got to come together and work together to seek solutions to resolve these issues. We can no longer continue to believe that they're going to work themselves out, or when the cameras are hot and rolling, we are out there on the front line marching, picketing, and doing what we do. And people watch tendencies, and they know once it becomes cooled off, we're going to go sit, and nothing is resolved. Nothing is done. There's just another lost black man. We can ill afford to continue to allow black men at the hands of those whose job and duty it is to serve and protect to continually die in their possession, or to come up dead by one of them. And there's no consequences. To kill a black man in this city, you get your vacation, paid time off, and you come back to work as if nothing has happened. It is time out for that. Elected officials, organizations, and us as men, we're going to have to do something to deter and correct this problem. We can no longer sit around and allow this to happen. This young man has no reason to be dead today when he was in a facility that we pay taxes for, and we pay these people's salary, and to ask for help and can't get help. That's a sad state of affairs. And he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I had a brother-in-law who was there.
Your time has expired.
Motion to extend for 2 minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to extend for an additional 2 minutes. Are there any
He was a weekend inmate. He was on dialysis, had kidney cancer. He had diabetes. And they allowed this man to sit up in a cell from Friday night to Sunday night, just leaving dialysis on Friday. This is the treatment that he got at CDC. And nobody liked to, we have to call, our sheriff need to be held accountable. Just like we cry about Chief Ben Raymond not doing his job. What is so special about Sheriff Prater that nobody will call him out on his dirt and things that he do? We as a people, we've got to get some backbone and call this thing what it is. I know we can say racism and prejudice all day long. That doesn't matter. People don't care about that. We need some actions in our community, and it starts with us. The black leaders, black preachers, and black people in our community. You got to get up off your A, and we have got to start doing something and creating some opportunities for our young people with the tax dollars that benefit and pay salary for the elected officials. We have got to do something to help ourselves and stop believing Sheriff Prater or anybody's going to help us other than us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next person is Jade Sabbath. I'm assuming they're in the hallway.
It's got to be in all caps. Back to slash. Council. You got to put backslash.
Ms. Sabbath, you will have 3 minutes. Our clock is not working right now, so when I do this number here, you will have 1 minute left. Okay? And if I do that, that's 30 seconds left.
Okay. Okay. Hello, my name is Jay Sabbath, and my mother is Laura Sabbath, and my father is David Sabbath. My brother was Casey Simpson. Yes, I am a child, and I know you guys tend to not listen to children. But look at me as a person that knows human decency. And I know when someone needs to be heard, and I know when they need to be taken care of. And my brother was in the system and he was not taken care of. And my mother is not being listened to. It hurts to see my mother cry and scream because she knows her only son was in pain. And I know my brother was in pain because I know everything he went through. He went through the symptoms of having diabetes, and I have diabetes. I know he went through everything he could, and he tried. He tried to be heard. All I want you to do is for my mother to be heard. And I want you to hear her story, and I want her to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sabbath. Last one we have right now is My Drakes. Ms. Drakes, you will have 3 minutes. When I do this, you'll have 1 minute left. When I do that, 30 seconds left.
I got you. How y'all doing? All right. My name is My Drakes, here to discuss the ongoing case of my older brother, Casey Simpson. I am here to simply say that we are not asking for a GoFundMe or any financial assistance for the family that Casey was taken from. All we desire are answers, footage, proof, evidence, etc. Simply an explanation of what happened. Our goal is not only to win a simple case, but to reach closure on what happened to my brother. I pray that this isn't another piece of paper to add to a stack of irrelevance on anyone's desk. So thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Drakes. That will complete all our public comments for right now. Next item.
Well, and thank you. And if I could just to note real quick, you may notice there have been some power surges that are shutting down some of the computers. If your computer goes down and you need us to help restart it, just give us a signal. We're not sure what's causing it, but it's not something that we have control over right now. So hopefully it is resolved, but that may happen. So just wanted to let y'all know there were some power surges that were affecting.
Right, so this board is still down, but the other one is up.
Okay.
The one to my left is
we'll
down.
We'll come try to restart the one
up.
To your left.
Yeah, it's attempting to reconnect.
I think the rest of the monitors should be working now. Everything should be able to come back on right now, but. Okay, you ready for the next agenda item?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is visitors. We have no scheduled visitors today, and so that brings us to reports, where we have an administrator report.
Can we come back to it when they get ready? Can we just skip over and come back to it when?
The screen is down?
Well, yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good afternoon. Glad to see everybody here today, and pray that everyone's in good health. Just a few updates on the relocation of the Confederate Monument. We had several RFPs, but we have actually one that we're evaluating for technical competency to see if they can actually do the work, and that should be done fairly soon. The disparity study is due back. The RFP is due back this Thursday, April the 8th, on this disparity study. I-49 welcome sign. We in the process. We found a location up north but DOTD is wanting us to put it 100 feet out of the right of way, and that far location may cause a problem with visibility. So we're trying to work with them to see what else we can come up with. Also, the U.S. Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program got off to a wonderful start. In the first 5 days, we received 1,735 applications. So that's going just fine, and we hope to serve up to 6,000 families. So that program is continuing to move forward. And that's my update for today.
You said that completed your report, Dr. Lewis?
I didn't hear you, sir.
You said that completed your report?
Yes, sir, for the day. On the
Okay.
items that we're tracking.
All right. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
I see no commissioners on the board. All right, next.
Okay, that brings us to the president's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The public comments today were very touching and well deserved to be heard. One thing that I guess that I kind of did some research on, I researched on how to bring in an independent investigation to our sheriff department and CCC. And in doing such, I reached out to the superintendent of the Louisiana State Police. He basically told me that outside investigations typically start with the sheriff asking or requesting for them to come in. But if the sheriff doesn't ask for that, then the mayor or the president of the parish could actually then request for the state police to come in. So in doing such, today I did formally request our sheriff, Steve Prater, to do an independent investigation on the death of Casey Simpson. I'm waiting for the response to that request. If we don't hear requests, I would assume that would be no. And myself and the mayor, Adrian Perkins, will write a letter to the governor to request that the state police come in and do an outside investigation. That's all I have for the president report. Next item.
Okay, that brings us to old business, where we have one item, authorizing resolution number 26 of 2021. Do you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yes.
It's a resolution amending the rules and bylaws of the Caddo Parish Commission regarding the time limits of speakers under communiques and committee reports, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. This is initially was authored by Commissioner Johnson, then comes to us from the Personnel Policies and Procedures Committee.
It was moved by the chair, seconded by the vice president to advance resolution 26 of 2021. Are there any questions? Seeing none, let's vote. Can we vote electronically or we need to raise
Should be
hand?
able to vote electronically.
All right, let's vote.
Out of practice.
Move forward. Yeah, to advance to third.
And that motion passes with 11 in support and 1 absent.
All right, next item.
Brings us to new business, where we have several items. The first being 11.1, authorizing the introduction of ordinance number 6047 of 2021. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation of $25,000 for the Shreveport-Bossier African American Chamber of Commerce and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Carthon, second by the chair. Commissioner Carthon, you want to speak on that motion?
Sure, very briefly. This is advanced from the Economic Development Committee meeting where we had on last Thursday. The African American Chamber of Commerce has had a switch, or secessions, I should say, in the leadership over there. There was some documentation that needed to be submitted that wasn't submitted last year. Haley Barnett is working directly with them so we can get all that cleared up. And so we did unanimously advance this out of the Economic Development Committee 4-0. So I'm asking that we advance this to Thursday.
See no one else on the board, let's vote. And that's voting to advance out of the work session. All
And
right,
that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent.
next item?
That brings us to 11.2.
Mr. President, I move to reconsider resolution number 26 of 21. If I can get a second, I can explain why.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Chavez to reconsider Resolution 26.
Yes. I don't know what this is on here, but this is not what was passed out of the committee. What was passed out of committee was every member would have an opportunity. It would be 7 minutes, and the body would vote on the additional 3 minutes for a total of 10 minutes. And so,
That is right. That is correct.
so what's on here is
So
5.
this is incorrect on the way it's phrased.
Yes.
We can change that.
So
Now, we had it right on the last one, but I don't know why it changed.
So I would
Yeah.
like for us to I make a motion, well, I make the motion to reconsider, so.
Well, we
and then
just
I-
make a motion to amend it to say 7 minutes instead of 5.
Right, so we'd have to
Is-
reconsider first.
Is it affecting the title? Because I think what may have happened is I think that it may have just uploaded the wrong attachment.
It doesn't affect it.
No, I don't see I don't see it listed in the title.
No, it doesn't.
Then I don't think you need to take action.
We can amend it.
You still have to
Thursday.
amend it, because we just voted on 5 and 3.
Mm.
So the resolution has to read 7 and 3.
But we can amend it Thursday.
Yes, you voted to advance it. So
Okay.
it's advanced as long as we correct it in the version that you.
Now, point of information, remember, we sent this from work session
Right.
to committee.
Right.
So now it comes back into work session. It still has to lay over 2 weeks because it's a bylaw change.
Oh, yes, bylaws, okay.
So we won't consider it this Thursday. It'll be on the end of the
following
month.
Thursday. Okay. But at
But
that
I don't want
time-
anybody to think that we are moving, I mean, I don't know how you want to handle it. I just know this wasn't the one that we voted on in the committee.
And,
I
and
don't
the,
know.
and the
I'll
new
yield to
version
you.
needs to be, I guess the minutes need to be sent or changed. This needs to reflect what the minutes were.
Right, that's what I'm
From
saying.
the committee meeting.
It needs to be reflective of that. It's more procedural than anything.
Yeah, and like I say, I think what happened is it probably uploaded the wrong attachment to this agenda, because I think that we did verify that there was a version that was correct, but I think it may have just not gotten attached correctly.
So you're saying all we have to do, we don't have to reconsider, we just need to attach the right version of what you're saying?
In 2 weeks, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Unless somebody is
if-
not comfortable with that, I think that works.
Because we all know it's 7 and 3 instead
Right.
of 5 and 3.
Okay, I'm
I think
good
it's
with
just
it
a
if y'all
clerical
good with
error.
it. I'm good with it if y'all good with it. Okay, well, I'll take my motion off the table. Thank you.
All right. So, no other questions? We go now back to,
11, now we're back at 11.2.
yes.
You want me to go? Okay, 11.2 is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6048 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund and Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation of $35,000 for Gameport exhibition at Cyport and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Carthon, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to advance ordinance number 6048 of 2021. Commissioner Carthon, you want to speak on your motion?
Yes, this is another appropriation that came out of the Economic Development Committee meeting on last Thursday. The details of it is attached to the documentation today, but very briefly, this is a system they want to institute at Cyport, and we're going to fund it through 2 funds, the Riverboat Fund and Economic Development Fund. It also came out of committee, unanimous 4-0. Thanks.
Any other questions? Not seeing any? Let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item, 11.3, authorize introduction of ordinance number 6049 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures of the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an appropriation of $100,000 for the ESO fire reporting system and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
Who second? Been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to advance ordinance number 6049 of 2021. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak on this motion?
This is the system, this is what we discussed with Chief Wolverton. It's a little bit different in that we made the city come up with 100,000 if they do. We'll do 100,000, and then 911 will do the 100,000 reoccurring fee each year. So this puts all the fire districts and the city of Shreveport Fire on the same level with the same tools, and everybody's taken care of that way. That's all.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. A point of clarification here, is our funding contingent upon the city of Shreveport funding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Barrera.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Jackson, you on the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the work that y'all did with this. Did this go through I know we had talked about it at long-range planning. Did it go back through long-range planning, or it's just coming to the agenda?
It did go back, we did talk about it in long range, yes.
Did I miss a meeting?
I'm not sure.
I think you didn't have a quorum, or
Maybe
lost
that's
a quorum.
what it was.
Lost a quorum.
Lost the quorum.
Lost a
Okay.
quorum.
Okay, I'm good.
Right. And I just want to say too that what this do will make all the city and the Caddo districts be able to communicate on the same one system. So it will be to advantages of the citizens of Caddo to do this. Seeing no one else, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. Brings us to the next item on our agenda, 11.4, which is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6050 of 2021. It's an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
The move by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. As the maker of the motion, basically what this is when we received the American Rescue Plan Fund money, basically wanted to go into a separate fund where that it could be traced, or the money coming in and any money going out of it. And so just like the oil and gas fund was established, the riverboat gaming fund was established, and the video poker fund was established, this follows the same precedents. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, so are we creating a fund?
Yes.
So where's the enabling legislation to create the fund?
What's the what?
Where is the enabling legislation to create the fund?
Well, Haley, or however y'all want to put it, explain that to Commissioner.
Because this is adopting the budget of estimated revenue. This is not an ordinance to create the fund.
We've never done an ordinance.
We've never had enabling legislation to create a fund. I created a fund, you guys are adopting a budget for the fund.
Okay. But typically when you create a fund, you establish what the priorities are for that fund. You establish, just like we created the reserve trust fund. That was enabling legislation to create the reserve trust fund, right? And but the commission body voted on setting it up.
Well, yeah, because we made the rules with 2/3 vote.
Right.
That's the only reason that y'all had.
Right. So the governing authority creates and votes on establishing the fund. And then I see here where it says we're gonna create the fund and we're gonna put the monies in another fund. What's the name of that fund?
This is the fund.
So we're gonna create a fund, but I see it says federal grant fund.
Yes, the federal grant, some money's coming to us.
That's the revenue category.
That's the account that's going in. So we're gonna create a fund and put it in the federal grants fund? No?
That's the account within the fund. Federal grants is an account within the fund.
So do we have a federal grant special revenue fund?
No.
We don't? thought y'all told me last meeting we had a federal grants special revenue fund.
We get
We have
grants,
special revenue funds for other federal grants, but we don't have a federal grants fund.
So what y'all told me at the last meeting was incorrect? Y'all told me at the last meeting, and y'all sent me an email that said that there are special revenue funds, and let me pull it up here, that it says, I want to make sure that I read correctly here. It says there are certain special revenue funds that are not included in the annual operating budget but are reported in the annual audited financial statements. An annual operating budget was not prepared for the Section 8 Housing Fund and Federal Grants Fund. Section 8 Housing Fund, the Section 8 Housing prepares its budget on a grant entitlement basis rather than an annual basis. The budget is not readily convertible to an annual operating budget and thus not included in this budget document. The Federal Grants Fund was established to account for transactions involving federal funds received by the parish and passed through to the Caddo Community Action Agency, which is a separate legal entity. CCAA determines the manner in which these funds are spent. Consequently, the parish does not adopt a budget for the Federal Grants Fund. So I'm asking, is there a Federal Grants Fund?
The federal grants fund that is we spoke to there is actually the Head Start fund that carries a federal grant for Head Start.
So no other grants?
There is not a fund called federal grants. There's a Section 8 fund that handles federal funds for Section 8. There's a Head Start fund that handles Head Start funds that flow through CPCWS.
So
And now there will be an American Rescue Plan fund that handles the federal funds and related to the American Rescue Plan.
So where is the enabling legislation to set up any of these funds? Because as I read Louisiana Government Budget Act is you gotta have enabling legislation to establish special revenue funds, the governing authority. Because if that's the case, does it take 2/3 vote to expend funds out of it? Does it take 3/4? Does the administrator just get to arbitrarily decide how you to spend the fund? Who set, where are the parameters and the guidelines and the rules of engagements for the fund?
For these particular funds, Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, I don't see anything. What would the purpose be for it? You should have, you're supposed to have a purpose set up for it?
That will be forthcoming from the federal government.
No, the federal government gives it to the local governing body to administer.
How you could use those funds. And it's a one-time fund, so it's not a reoccurring.
But again, special revenue funds, Madam Public Accountant, is typically, and my understanding from the Louisiana Governmental Budget Act and several AG opinions, is that the governing authority, no different from the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, we set forth the guidelines by which the funds are dispensed, what they're for, what they're used for, and there's a comprehensive budget that is supposed to be, there's supposed to be a comprehensive budget. So if we're gonna create a fund, we need to have the creating enabling legislation. I would just assume that's the case, so.
Commissioner, if you wanted to have when the commission has done that, they've chosen to do that, and you can do that, but that is not required. We can set up the fund based on adopting this revenue. There's no expenses associated with this particular ordinance, it's only revenues. At some point, the commission can set whatever parameters they so desire, or you all vote on if that is your desire. But if you wanted to just adopt particular expenses with no particular guidelines in there, that can be done also.
So
we have established multiple funds without enabling legislation, but what we have to do to be able to expend those funds, we would have to get the appropriation through the commission.
So have we received these funds?
No.
We
have
haven't
not
received any
them,
funds, so
but you
we
can adopt the budget based on the estimate.
anticipated revenue.
Yes.
Anticipated revenue.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, next month.
So,
Commissioner Jackson, if you got another question to kind of wrap up.
well, I'm just trying to figure out, how do we go through the process of not establishing a fund first? I mean, because I would have loved to have come down here and just put $1 million in the Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund and had never had established it. If I would have just put a resolution on the table that said $1 million for the Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, we didn't go through the process of setting it up. We didn't go through the process of setting any parameters and guidelines and what's supposed to be what and what it's supposed to be used for. I would have loved to have done that, but we went through a process. And what I'm saying is, there's a process
Right, you could have done
that is missing. I'm of the position that it has to be done to be in compliance with Louisiana Local Government Budget Act. I've never seen, if the city of Shreveport adopts a special revenue fund or they're going to create a special account, the council creates enabling legislation.
Yeah.
I've never seen a body, the way they're going to create the fund is just to appropriate the dollars or accept the dollars. That's just out of order. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, my question was kind of along the same lines, maybe not as in-depth or as eloquent as Commissioner Jackson, but I was just curious about, whether stipulations, limitations have been discussed or imposed on this specific fund, and basically what it can and cannot be used for, and who votes for the appropriation of the money out of that fund. That was my general question. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Commissioner Caddo.
Yes, just for the edification of myself and the rest of the members on this body, it was my appreciation that this was a prescription ordered from accounting and a mechanism using general accounting principles just to receive the money, and then once the money is received and what Commissioner Jackson's alluding to, we can go back and adjust?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Attorney Frazier.
I just wanted to state that in my review of the Budget Act, there is no mandate for enabling legislation. Now, you spoke about some Attorney General's opinions, Commissioner, and I love to see those because I thought I'd look through the decisions related to the Budget Act. The Budget Act speaks to what is supposed to be included in your budget, but it doesn't speak to enabling legislation for funds. And the only fund that I'm aware of that the commission has created, there will be two, and that would be the Housing Trust Fund, because you wanted a specific purpose for those funds. You created, well, I take that back, there's more. There's the Oil and Gas Fund that I think you established when we started getting oil and gas revenues, because you wanted specific purpose for that. And then you had the Reserve Trust Fund because you wanted a specific number of votes to be able to move money in and out of it. But there are other funds, particularly where someone else gets to spend the money, that if it was passed through. Like we've been talking about the CCAA fund and the Section 8 fund, that you actually are not printed in the budget because you don't get to decide how they're spent. Now these, you will have some parameters from the federal government, but you'll probably have a lot of leeway within those parameters. So this time, you're setting up a fund to be able to receive that. This is basically your enabling legislation, and you would come back and make appropriations from that fund. But a separate piece of legislation is not required, or at least I don't see where it is. But if you have something else that shows different, I'm happy to look at it.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. She might be bouncing this back and forth, and I'm not sure what that is serving the public to expend this much
Speaking to it.
Can't hear you, Commissioner Brown.
Do we have a committee or anything that we can take it to resolve these issues so that we can move on with our agenda?
Yeah, well, I guess then results. We're just going.
That's my question, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, well, I think that it's only one commissioner with a question, and for the 2 weeks layover, two commissioners with a question. So with the 2 week layover, we can work those questions out, or they'll get those answers, be able to see what the act says verbatim and the Attorney General's opinion. And at that point in time, if it's deemed that it's wrong, then we'll send it to committee at that point. If it's not deemed wrong, then we'll vote however people want to vote.
So your recommendation is that we move forward until 2 weeks to resolve it within that period of time, because I still don't think that it's serving the public to be confused about it, because I'm confused about it.
Well, it's not about confusion, Commissioner Burrell. What it does is it creates a fund, so when this money comes in, it's not commingled with any other money. It goes into a separate account. So when the public wants to have a public record request on this particular fund, it's easy to pull all transactions in, all transactions out, instead of saying, well, it went into general fund. That's how the other money went. It went into general fund, and then we had to move it out. What I'm proposing along with administration is to create a fund before the money comes. When the money comes, it goes into that particular fund. It's never commingled with anything else, and you can track it from the beginning all the way through.
So, Mr. President, that's similar to other funds that we've done. If so, what are they?
It would be similar to the riverboat gaming, the oil and gas, the video poker. I'm missing one. That's the only ones I know about.
Reserve trust.
Reserve trust. Reserve trust.
Reserve trust as well.
Okay, well, I stand down.
Okay. I will pass, and we got Haley.
I actually passed it. I just wanted to point out, Commissioner, that this is not appropriating any expenses. This is not stating any purpose. It's just the revenue category. There's no expenses associated with that now. I would think that you all will work that out as you go forward, whatever process you choose to allocate these funds.
Right, and that would be with the committee that will be
Yes.
formed, the American Rescue Act Committee. Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, so essentially, the back and forth that we're doing, essentially what accounting and finance has established a mechanism by which we can receive the money. So it won't be put into the general fund, it'll just be put into a separate fund.
Right.
So if we missing words between fund and account, well, is that clarification or not? Because if I understand that the money's got to come to us, all right?
Yes.
And before we don't disperse any of the money, that's going to be some discussion of what we're going to spend on how we're going to
We have to
utilize
set
it.
the parameters.
This right here is just a remedy to receive the money and have it parked on our balance sheet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Point of clarification.
Commissioner Jackson.
The way I read this ordinance, my reading may be off, it says an ordinance adopting the budget estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund. It does not say to create or to accept. It says we're adopting the budget. That's what it says. And right here, Louisiana Legislative Auditors, RS 39-1305, what must be included in the budget? The budget sets forth the proposed financial plan for a general fund and each special revenue fund. The budget must include the following. It is signed by the budget preparer and contains a summary description of proposed financial plan, policies and objectives, assumptions, budgetary basis, and discussion of the most important features. That is not in there. I get it. You're right. You do have to accept it. But how can we adopt a budget that is missing? I'm just reading what if I'm wrong, if I'm reading this title wrong, then I apologize. But I'm reading this title to say that we're adopting this budget. And how can you adopt a budget for a fund that has not been created or established? That's all I'm saying. We have not created the fund. There's a process issue that's missing. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. No other questions? Let's vote. Vote on the motion to advance.
In its current language?
Yes.
Point of information, Mr. Chair. Have we resolved it?
I think it's only one unwritten, I guess, I don't know. But it's time to vote, so it's either vote to advance it or vote to kill it.
We're waiting on Mr. Burrell and Mr. Telefera
Say again?
to vote.
Oh, okay.
And you see Mr. Burrell?
I'm sorry?
Wait on you to vote.
It hasn't registered your vote.
Oh.
All right, that motion passes with, let's see, that is 9 in support, 1 absent, 1 in opposition, and 1 abstention.
My abstention is due to, I think
I'm
that.
sorry.
Oh, say what's your abstention?
Okay.
No, I'm supposed to state my abstention?
Yes.
Yeah, my abstention is due to the title saying that we're adopting budget of estimated revenues and not creating a fund. And the Louisiana Local Government Budget Act holds us personally responsible for violating it. And I think we have violated, at this particular time, we're violating the Local Government Budget Act. So I'm abstaining from this particular vote at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Burrell, you want to speak to this particular bill?
I do.
Okay.
I would like to ask you, Mr. Chairman, to, by the time that we meet again to vote on it, that we'll have a clear understanding, I think everybody, because I'm not clear, but if you think that, I trust our accounting department, but at the same time, I think there are still some questions there, and I would like to ask that we have a clarification. If there's any rules or regulations that we need to investigate, then that could be brought forth by the next time.
I will request through administration that we'll have any and all information that we might need, even maybe a short little PowerPoint on that particular deal.
That would be good.
That would help once there are any questions.
Or if the language needs to be modified slightly.
Yeah, I'm just for that little.
Okay.
All
right, next item.
Next item on our agenda is 11.5. It's to authorize resolution number 31 of 2021. It's a resolution urging and requesting the United States Congress to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act of 2021 and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to authorizing in global resolutions 31, 32, and 33.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Gage Watts to in global and advance resolution 31, 32, 33, and seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Did I miss one? Okay. Commissioner Gage Watts, you want to speak on?
I reserve to Thursday.
You want to wait till Thursday?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to add resolutions number 34 to that.
Okay.
Second. I'll second that.
Y'all gonna stop at that? There's only 2 more left.
Hmm?
You got
30. Oh, I'll add
35,
30.
36.
I'll add 35 and 36 to it.
That's right.
I'll add 35 and 36.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good, 35 and 36.
All right, so the amended motion is to add 34, 35, and 36 to englobo those and to advance them to Thursday. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to that motion?
No, just interest of time, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Calafero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm good with the resolutions 31, well, anything after 31, I think because of the nature of 31, that maybe we should consider voting on it separately instead of just engloboing everything to move it to Thursday unless Thursday's going to be for additional discussion.
So what we'll do is if the englobo passes, it passes, and if it doesn't, then we'll do each one
Fair enough.
separately. You ready to vote?
Yes.
Let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 7 in support, 4 in opposition, and 1 absent.
Okay.
And that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Commissioner Jackson, I know I didn't even look at the screen,
Yes.
but I know you don't know.
Thank you. I just want to note that, we've been able to move through our meeting. Public comments may have taken approximately, 30 to 40 minutes? So 30 to 40 minutes. So I think, as we discuss time and time limits, I hope that we will at least consider that there were probably some challenges as we met online. And I think we also need to be mindful of individuals who still can't make it because we're meeting in person. So just want to throw that out there to the body. We voted and we held Commission President at that time, Chavez. We held him to a standard, a duty of care, I believe is how, duty of care is how Commissioner Burrell described it at the time, for all members to make sure that they had an opportunity to exercise their voice. But clearly the time difference, there is an appreciable time difference in between meeting in person and meeting online. So hopefully there is some meaningful conversation that can be had in between now and maybe our next meeting, and whoever needs to get around the table and have that discussion. As I have often said, I may be probably outside of Mario and John Paul, I might be the healthiest person, at least I think I am, up here, but you just never know what this virus will do. So I don't mind being a little bit of a risk taker. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm aware that we can't require anybody to be vaccinated. But I just want everybody to think about the person sitting next to them and the person they make contact. I saw a whole lot of paper being passed during public comment. That's people who have been touching things and stuff. So just something to think about, something to consider. Administration, if you could add to the report that you have is the status of the RFP on the Housing Trust Fund. If you could add that to your weekly report. I know we talked back at the end of February, I believe. And so now we're moving into April. So we should have an RFP ready to roll by now. The other thing is I understand that there was a letter that was submitted, but I am those individuals who came down here today to speak on behalf of the young man who passed away. I'm not saying he was killed or whatever, but those individuals who came down here live in my district, and as their representative, they reached out to me and they asked me what could I do. I talked to the state police as well, and a resolution asking them to take a look does suffice. And the information that you repeated this morning, Commissioner President Johnson, Dr. Wilson and Attorney Frazier called and told me earlier that they had researched. So it looked like y'all was doing some of the same research. But they assured me that a resolution from this body asking the parish administrator to look into that issue suffices the same. I'm also saying to folks that, this is not going to be the ground opening type deal. I can't guarantee that they'll look at everything or they'll look at any of them. Can't guarantee that, because they have the right to say, no, that's not our jurisdiction. They have the right to say, no, we're not going to look at it. They have the right to say everything went well. I'm not here to accuse anybody of doing anything wrong, but I know the pain that lady who was standing up there, I think her last name was Johnson, talks about when you leave a loved one somewhere thinking that they're in good hands, regardless of what the issue may have been, and you come back to find that they won't be coming home. I didn't have a person or a loved one die in a prison, but I had a loved one who died in the care of somebody else who should have been having optimal care for them. I will say this, and I'll probably repeat it on Thursday. The legislature does not run the day-to-day operations of LSU College, A&M, but there are at least 5 or 6 bills that have been filed in the legislature in response to things that have happened with regard to sexual assault and hazing deaths at LSU, because they have a responsibility to the public and they have a responsibility for oversight. And so this is not picking on any individual agency or individual entity, but my goal with that resolution is to establish a process and procedure going forward. There's no guarantee that the commission president may always feel compelled to do that. And so I'd like to see us put and consider putting a practice and a procedure in place to make sure that we give families the peace of mind that they are asking for. Not saying that anybody has done anything wrong. I believe if something that happened like this at our juvenile detention center, the staff over there would be kicking the doors open to ask people to come look at their practices, their policies and procedures, to essentially validate that they're doing things right and everything and nothing is wrong. It's all about public trust and public integrity. So I will be pushing and asking for this body to adopt that resolution, and my heart does go out to that family and the aching and pain. I know what it's like to stay up long nights, long nights, and you're never the same when something like that happens, because all you think about is what if I was there, or what if I didn't leave, or what if. So the pain and suffering that they have dealt with, I can very much relate to, and I hope that we will do our responsibility and do our due diligence, and not just try to correct something in the past, but make sure that going forward there is a standard process and procedure in place to make sure that these things are corrected. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Jackson. Yeah, basically I received calls as well, I guess because I'm president of the commission. And so when I received the calls, my thought was, let me find out, how do you do the independent investigation? And so I reached out to Colonel Davis. He called, talked to me, and basically told me what happens in the other 63 parishes. It starts with the sheriff. And I said, well, maybe our sheriff will do it, maybe he won't. But if he doesn't, what is the check and balance on that? And then at that time, he told me that the process is the mayor or the president of the parish. Depends on who is responsible for the jail. So the jail sits with the parish, so it's our facility. So therefore, I said, okay. So I did my formal request today with the sheriff to start the process, because days have passed. Want to make sure this. We don't know if this going to pass or not, but if it does, it'll supplement it. If it doesn't, then we already got the wheel in motion.
But I want to be clear, Mr. President, clarification. My resolution asks us to establish a process, not.
Right. Right. Well, I'm just saying that
clear.
the process is already established in the other 63 parishes, including
But you just
us.
talked about checks. And so
it's a check
you won't
and balance.
always be the commission president.
True.
So-
I know, but this is the typical
Right.
process.
I want us
that
to
they have.
establish a local process. I want to
So-
be clear about that.
That's fine. I didn't interrupt you when you talked.
I just wanted clarification.
But I just want the public to know that I'm not sitting here waiting on a resolution to pass.
That's fine.
That I've already started the process, and the process is rolling. You know, this is something, you know, in the line of work that I do, if we have a death at our facility, yes, we're gonna do an inside investigation, but then there will also be federal agencies coming in to do an investigation with us also. So it's nothing that's new, nothing that's extraneous, or nothing that is outside of the normal. Most industries, if there is a facility, death at the facility, there is a internal investigation and an external investigation. So we just want to make sure the public has, you've seen it today, the public came down, they said, hey, we also want to see that external investigation. So start the process, do it right. If by chance we started this other process and we were spinning our wheels, delaying things because they say, well, it has to come from this person or that person, I wanted to already eliminate that, because the current process is that the president and or the mayor can send a letter in to the governor, and then the governor will request it to the state police to make it happen. So I just want the public to know it's in motion. It started today, and I'm waiting on their response from Sheriff Prater. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make this, that you're putting others at risk under the circumstances. And this does not, this is not about our normal COVID pandemic, but if you keep up with the news, you'll find out there's a lot of variances out there now that is twice as deadly and twice as contagious as the one that we witnessed and the one that I witnessed, because I had it. And I do have a concern about my fellow colleagues, but I have a concern about the public. And these variants are coming into every state. Red state, blue states, and what purple states, whatever states you want. And it is not so much protecting yourself as it is protecting others, like the South African variants, the Brazilian B117 variants, and as recent as last night, they're talking about another variant that is coming out of India that has affected 103,000 in one day. So I'm just throwing that out to let you know this thing is not over with, and we should still all take precaution. Regardless of what we get from the governor or the state, you're responsible for your family. And I think that as a body, we should have these discussions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question for you regarding your research about the process that you described for external review. Is it your understanding that it's prescribed by state law, or is it an informal tradition that's just done?
When I talked to Colonel Davis, basically said that was the process. I didn't ask him for a state statute or anything, but he basically said, if you notice, I think it was April 1st or the 31st of March, that Bossier had a custody and a person died, and the state police started the investigation. It's because the Bossier Sheriff Department requested an outside investigation on that.
So I was hoping to, and maybe our legal department could look this up for me or tell me now if that's done as a result of a state process that's prescribed by law, or if it's just a more informal tradition that's followed in the parishes.
Commissioner, according to what I have found, it is probably an internal policy of the governor and state police office. It's not in statute. It's not in a statutory policy.
So, okay, thank you. Thank you, that's all.
Did you hear?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, seeing nowhere else,
Motion to adjourn.
move to adjourn. Thanks, everyone.
Y'all have about the same goal?
Yes, so